Hi, this is Friday the 11th of February 2022. This is Democratic Alliance Labour Report. Thank you for tuning in, and please share this as much as you can. It should be interesting because I'm going to have a look at the state of the nation now that it's passed. You'll recall last week I had made some suggestions as to what should be in the state of the nation. I have a very strong feeling that President Cyril Ramaphosa does watch these podcasts because a lot of that has been tackled. I've been writing to newspapers, in particular Business Day, about what should be contained in the SONA address. And lo and behold, there it was. I'm very pleased and very proud, and I claim at least a little bit of the acknowledgement for it. But let's have a look at it, and let's have a look at some of the positive things that were said by President Ramaphosa. I said, not done, because very seldom does the president come forward and say, this is what we've done, this is what we've achieved, because unfortunately they've achieved very little. So let's have a look at what the acknowledgements were first of all, which is interesting, because for the first time he said that government does not create jobs. He said businesses create jobs. Well, most of us, that's quite obvious, but I think what the president is doing, and I think for him it's obvious as well, and I think he would have acknowledged it in the past, but what the president is doing is he's talking to people who don't normally believe that. The Communist Party, the trade unions, the radical economic transformation people, all those sort of types that don't understand that government doesn't create jobs. Government does a situation where they create an environment for businesses to create jobs. So by making this statement, I think it's a big step, and I think we need to applaud the president for saying that. So well done to the president for at least saying that and telling us a little bit of truth for a time. What we do know, and the president has said it as well, and again an acknowledgement, that 80% of the people employed in South Africa today is done through the private sector, not through government, although they create thousands of jobs, people doing very little, but he is saying that 80% of the jobs is created by the private sector. He then went ahead and told us the obvious. If he says government doesn't create jobs, business does, what he then said is government creates the conditions to enable business to create jobs. Now, obviously, then you must take that statement and then build on it, expand on it, because then what has to be done? Well, obviously what has to be done is that government must create different conditions to what they are. It can't be business as usual. And so we can't reiterate that enough. Government does not create jobs. Government creates the conditions for business to create jobs. So it's important. Another acknowledgement from the president was that there are deep and structural problems with our economy. Deep and structural. I'd be a little bit more blunt and I'd say it's completely buggered, but he couldn't obviously say that. What did he expand on? He said electricity. Pretty bad. Well, again, I'd expand on it, but maybe I shouldn't in a genteel video of this nature, but Eskom is buggered. Then he looked at transport, the railways, the ports. He said it's not good. Well, there's again an understatement. There again, those things such as electricity, transport, railways, ports, all of that is incredibly destructive to business and doesn't create the environment for business to want to create jobs. And so at least the presidency, for once, I don't know who's advising him, but whoever's advising him has been watching our podcasts. At least for once, it's acknowledging that there are real problems. Now for the piece de resistance. What's fantastic? The presidency, for the first time, said it was small business that created the most opportunities for jobs for the poor and uneducated. There we have it. Small business. So now we know business creates jobs, government creates the environment, but what is the best part of business that creates most of the jobs for the people that need the jobs radically? It's small business. And so it's obvious then It's obvious to the president, it's obvious to everyone listening to the president, if anyone was listening, but it's obvious then that those in authority in government should create an environment for small business to create more jobs. And so it's a quick skip, hop and a jump to say, what do we need to do for small business to create jobs? Now, the Democratic Alliance for many years have been talking about this. And I, Michael Bagram, as the Deputy Shadow Minister of Labour and the Labour spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance, have been saying for years, for 6 years, that we need to deregulate small business. We need to uncouple them from the bargaining councils. We need to deregulate. We need to give them access to some money, to some training, to education, the whole bit. Unfortunately, government does very little. Yes, now at once, the presidency has talked the talk, but unfortunately they've never walked the walk. And he's given himself 100 days, and I'll explain this 100 days nonsense as to before he's going to do something about it. But let's understand that at least we've had a SONA now that has spoken a little bit of truth to South Africa and to the world, and to see why we are in one of the worst unemployment situations in the world. Why is productivity the second worst in the world? Why are we going down every quarter? Why are we losing jobs every single quarter for the last decade? Why is that? And so that becomes the next step. So it's all very well to hear the presidency at SONA and the president glibly tell us these wonderful things that we all agree with, but we now need to have that next step. No good telling us things. No good telling Michael Bagram that ice cream is tasty. I'd like to taste it. And so the people want to be able to get jobs. They doesn't have to tell them that they're going to get jobs, or that we're going to talk about them getting jobs, or we know why they haven't got jobs. We need to give them jobs. So what has the presidency done? Because this is now the practical step they've suggested. And the president very boldly, courageously said that I'm going to hand this over basically to NEDLAC, and they've got 100 days to talk about it. Well, you know, he's had, I don't know how many years now, it's almost 9 years he had as the vice president, now as the president, to talk about these things and never do anything. And again, what happens? It's going to go to NEDLAC, which is the debating chamber. Who makes up NEDLAC? NEDLAC is government, 1/3, Labour, 1/3, and business, 1/3, and there are a few smatterings of individuals as well. So you can imagine what's happening. It's like 10 wolves and a sheep sitting down at the lunch table discussing what to have for lunch. Obviously, what's going to happen, who's going to hold sway? NEDLAC are not going to be pushed too hard to give these deregulated operations to small business. They're controlled to a large degree by COSATU, who basically rule that table. And here, unfortunately, small business is the sheep. They're going to be eaten for lunch. So I can't really see after that 100 days that we're going to get much action. And I'm hoping that Cyril doesn't believe that he's going to be getting on a platter these wonderful deregulations for small business so that they can create jobs. He's going to have to be a lot more bold. He might for once think, maybe I must do something as the president and put my foot down. I don't think he will, but let's hope. We all live in hope. We all live here. We want to live here in the future, and we want job creation. The Democratic Alliance has done it in the Western Province. They have deregulated as much as they can. They've got rid of red tape. Cyril even spoke about red tape. Couldn't he just go to the Western Province government and speak to Premier Winde and say, please, Premier Winde, give me some advice. Tell me how we can have a red tape division, get rid of red tape for small business, and get on with it. Why is the Western Province able to create jobs? What is going on? Why is James Voss from the City Council being able to engender a whole lot of new businesses that are not just surviving and thriving? And it's because they are deregulating. They're cutting out the red tape. It's all there. And we don't have to reinvent it, Mr. President. I know now that you're listening to our podcast, so please, come, open hands. no problem. You don't need to pay anything. Ask the Western Province for guidance and you'll get the guidance, and we can start at least getting jobs. Forget about politics. But politics is irrelevant here. The people need to get back to work. Government doesn't create jobs. The business community does. The business community is not interested in politics. They want to get on. They want to create jobs. They want to create wealth, and they want to pay tax to government. So please, let's have it. Thank you for listening to me. It's Michael Bagram. Friday, the 11th of February, 2022. I really appreciate it. Thank you.